When it comes to the use of generative AI, you can be suspended or excluded from your course. So the consequences are really quite significant.
Do you believe that in the past few years, there has been an increase in academic integrity breaches?
In the past, these behaviours were still occurring, but they just actually weren't being detected by the university. 8 out of 10 students are currently using generative AI, and understanding how to use them to benefit you can be a real struggle.
But we cannot really differentiate or put one set rule for everybody.
Quite often it occurs students unknowingly. They don't know that their behaviour would constitute a breach of academic integrity. So it's really important as a student to understand what your responsibilities are when it comes to academic integrity.
Hello everyone, my name is Aditi Mishra and welcome to our Redo campaign's first episode. Today we'll be featuring Gavin from the DUSA Student Advocacy team. He helps students with academic integrity breaches, and today's topic will be basically talking about various Deakin University students who have faced academic integrity breaches and why it happens, what are the various types of breaches, and how to seek out for help when needed. Our campaign focuses on helping various individuals who have faced academic integrity breaches throughout Australia because it is a common rising problem. However, for now, we are focusing on international students at Deakin University so that we can better gauge the idea of how we can go about. Looking forward to our first episode and hopefully you enjoy it as well. See you soon. Hello everyone, welcome to today's first podcast for the Redo campaign. We have Gavin over here. We'll be discussing the various academic integrity breaches faced by students today. So, hi Gavin, how have you been doing today?
Hi, great, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me to participate.
Definitely. So, let's start off with your role at Deakin or DUSA.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm the Advocacy Manager here at DUSA, and I lead a team of very passionate advocates. An advocate at Deakin is somebody that helps support and work with students to respond to formal university correspondence. And my team work through very complex matters with students. The university structure is that all of the processes that help students or are designed to allow students to respond to formal correspondence are contained within very formal policies and procedures. For students, they can be really difficult to interpret, and understanding how to use them to benefit you can be really struggle. So my team help and work with students to help them understand what their rights are and what they can do to resolve a matter that they're facing.
So then, a lot of students would come to you with various academic integrity problems, and I've heard that most of them are usually based on other ulterior things that were happening.
Yeah, correct. So there's lots of vulnerabilities that students face that can lead to them breaching academic integrity. Quite often it occurs students unknowingly. They don't know that their behaviour would constitute a breach of academic integrity. So it's really important as a student to understand what your responsibilities are when it comes to upholding academic integrity and acting in an ethical and honest manner when doing your assessments. From our experience as advocates, we support students to respond to formal allegations. And there are many different breach types that students can fall into the position of acting in a way that constitutes that breach type. Specifically at Deakin, what we see is students receiving allegations for either contract cheating, and that is when you are using a third party, including generative AI, to complete your assessment, and falsification, fabrication, or misrepresentation of data. And what that means is that you're submitting work which is fake, or it's not actually verified by research that has been conducted, or when it comes specifically to falsification, using references that are not in existence. And what we have observed more recently with the rise of generative AI is students using that to obtain references, inserting those references into their assessments, and then not confirming that those references are actually correct or valid. And by submitting an assessment like that, it can be detected, and the university will formulate a formal allegation.
So, like, I do agree about the generative AI. It has, like, obviously helped in many ways. However, it has also caused harm in many ways. So, when students use generative AI, like, for example, I guess it differs for degree to degree. For example, in my degree, like, I'm doing psychology, so we cannot use AI at all because everything needs to being backed up by some sort of research article, because I cannot have my own thoughts or opinions on such research papers. But degrees such as like computer science, they're allowed, or like social media marketing, they're allowed to use generative AI to utilize in their assignments and things like that. What are your thoughts on that? Because we cannot really differentiate or like put one set rule for everybody.
It's such a confusing space. The emergence of generative AI has really changed how education, the whole face of education really. And I think universities are still catching up with how generative AI can be used ethically. And I completely acknowledge that there's variations between disciplines, and even within perhaps the same discipline, there's variation between different units that you're being taught. Overall, the learning objectives for each of the units come into play when academics determine the type of assessments that are required and how generative AI can be used. So when it comes to a psychology student, for example, where you're required to cite sources accurately, and that you're required to go back to theory constantly, the use of generative AI may not be encouraged as a different discipline where you're able to use it for paraphrasing, or you're able to use it for coding, for example. So those variations can be really difficult to understand. As a student, it's your responsibility to know how and when to use Gen AI ethically. There is a Gen AI hub on the Deakin website that can be used to learn how to use it ethically and appropriately. And if you're always in, or if any position that you're in doubt, you can always reach out to the academic staff that are teaching you to ask questions about how you should be using it or could use it for particular assessments. Within the unit guide for your units and the assessment criteria, it should identify if Gen AI is permitted, and if so, how it can be used. And then it's important to reference that correctly within your assessment of how you used it. Within some assessments, there is a kind of template that can be used to identify which sections of your assessment were used for Gen AI and how it was used. But that's not consistent across all disciplines, and it's not consistent across all units within a same discipline. So it's really important to read through the documentation related to your unit.
I remember you speaking about like how Deakin University is one of the universities in the entirety of Australia that does not have checking of usage of AI within Turnitin, but and also like second or third in the entire world. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so given that when this new detection software was being introduced, there was a number of tests that were conducted at Deakin University where 50 assessments were written by an academic, and then 50 assessments were created using generative AI. And this detection software with Turnitin was identifying many of the ones that were written by a human as potentially being written by generative AI, and vice versa. So it's not an accurate tool in order to determine whether or not a assessment or a piece of written work has been generated by AI. I guess looking at it from an international student perspective, where the language that you may use within the assessment could very much align with proper English and be incorrectly identified as being used as generative AI.
I see. So, for example, if one of let's say, me as an international student come to, for example, Australia for the first time, and I don't understand how much I can use AI or to what certain extent. So, what should I do? Like, I know I cannot use, because of my degree, I cannot use AI too much. But how much how much AI is too much AI?
That's a great question. Sure, I think there is recent research that has identified that 8 out of 10 students are currently using generative AI for their assessment. And it is well known across the university that students are using this tool as a viable resource to help them not only with their assessments, but all forms of study. And additionally, outside of that, communicating with their peers or friends, and even communicating with other people via email. It's been embedded into all communication tools that we have access to. And knowing how to use it and what percentage you should be using it, it really varies significantly dependent upon what you're actually doing. The first step as a student should be to undertake the Gen AI modules within the Gen AI Hub at Deakin. And by doing so, you're learning how to use it ethically. Deakin is not discouraging you to use it. They want you to use Gen AI.
I see.
But they want you to use it ethically and appropriately. And knowing how to do that is really important to ensuring that you are going to be able to succeed as a student and have the skills post-graduation to use Gen AI ethically in your career, but also to avoid breaches of academic integrity.
So let's say I have been using AI a lot and I feel in doubt and I want to come and seek out for help. What should I do?
Yeah, so when it comes to the potential to breach academic integrity at Deakin, there is the possibility that if you were to submit an assessment that has high levels of similarity with known sources, that you are eligible for an early intervention. And an early intervention occurs when the unit chair has identified that you have used multiple sources in the development of your assessment, and it could be considered as plagiarism if you were to submit that assessment. The university identifies that this potentially has occurred due to poor academic skills. And as a result of that, the unit chair will allow you an opportunity to learn correct referencing, correct paraphrasing, and develop your academic writing skills so that then you're in a position that you know in the future how to go about doing assessments. So the unit chair will send an email through identifying that you have, I think, 10 working days in order to submit a new version of your assessment.
In regards to contract cheating and collusion, so what are the consequences that students face if they were to contract cheat?
This is a great question, and I think that many students are unaware of the consequences if they are determined to have breached academic integrity. So at Deakin, there is a standard outcome model, and the standard outcome model has different behaviours which are considered as breaches of academic integrity and an applicable outcome for that. And those outcomes range dependent upon the behaviour that was being displayed by the student. So they can range from receiving a formal warning all the way up to being permanently excluded from your course.
Wow.
When it comes to the use of generative AI, if it's classified as falsification, the likelihood is that you would receive 0 for that assessment. If it is that contract cheating has been substantiated, there is possibility that it's 0 for the unit, or if it has been detected in multiple assessments, then you can be suspended or excluded from your course. So the consequences are really quite significant.
Do you believe that in the past few years, there has been an increase in academic integrity breaches, or do you think since we are trying to make people more aware, it is decreasing?
It's a great question as well. It's really hard to measure if there are more breaches of academic integrity. I think what has occurred is with technology evolving and students using that more to assist them with their assessments, Deakin have also increased the methods of detection. So whilst we could say, yes, there are more allegations being formed, it may be more so that in the past, these behaviours were still occurring, but they just actually weren't being detected by the university.
I see. So, well, that was a lot of information that you've given us. Really appreciate it. Speaking of, for example, someone like, if an individual who came new to Deakin University and this entire academy integrity, them trying to figure out this, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I not supposed to be doing? What should they do? How should they seek help?
Yeah, there's many first steps that you should be taking. Familiarizing yourself with what academic integrity is probably the first thing. And using the supports and resources available to you to gain and get help to improve your understanding. So there is a study skills area at Deakin University that you can meet with mentors to get help. There are language and learning advisors that you can access if academic writing is a new thing that you're needing to develop skills in. When it comes to DUSA, we're here as the student association to support all students. And on an annual basis, we host an academic integrity awareness campaign that can help you learn about all these different things that you would never consider being a breach of academic integrity. And by participating in our on-campus activations or seeing our materials online, that can really help boost your awareness and improve your understanding. And additionally, if you are in the position that you receive an academic integrity allegation, you can always approach the advocates at DUSA, and we're able to provide a service to support you and work with you to respond to any formal allegations that you receive.
What would your piece of advice would be to students who might be vulnerable to academic integrity breach?
Yeah, seek help. Be proactive, ask for assistance from your unit chair, seek support via university support services, and contact advocates if you're ever in doubt about what you should do or where you should go.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Gavin, for being here and sharing all the piece of advices and support that we have at Deakin University. This was a great conversation that we've had. Thank you for everyone joining today, and thank you, Gavin, for being here and sharing all the pieces of advices. Feel free to always reach out if you need help in case of academic integrity, because DUSA and student advocacy team is here to help you. Feel free to reach out to Gavin anytime, and thank you for joining in. Look forward to our next episode that's coming up. We'll be featuring an individual who has actually been vulnerable to academic integrity breaches, and that will be our second episode. Thank you for joining in. See you next time.